Tonight, the president says former leaders of the FBI, CIA, and other federal agencies that investigated him, he says they're the ones feeling the heat.
Now they're all blaming each other, do you see? They're all turning on each other. Isn't that pretty to watch? Nah, we caught them. They were spying.
You're listening to Red Pill 78. I am the corruption detector, and this is your Red Pill News. Well, guys, it's happening. You know how I can say that? Because it's actually happening. Things are taking place. Maybe not the things that some people want to happen, or maybe not on the timeline that they want them to happen. But you know what? There are things that are happening. And you know what happened yesterday? Representative Doug Collins came through for us and released all of those transcripts that he had been talking about, and on the timeline that I predicted. He said that last week, we got him this week. Now, before we get into Representative Collins and the testimonies and the things that they reveal, first, I just wanted to show this off. My buddy Ryan Dunham from Twitter went to the rally in Pennsylvania last night. He got the chance to meet Vincent Fusca. How cool, how cool. But he did want to let everybody know that the Secret Service was not allowing them to wear t-shirts in that had anything to do with our favorite Anon, nor signs either. So just wanted to put everybody on notice, let you know that if you go to a Trump rally and you happen to be wearing these things, then you may not be able to get in wearing them. You might not be able to take those signs with you. But how cool, Ryan's right here meeting with Vincent Fusca at the Pennsylvania rally last night. Good stuff, man. Good on ya. And they did actually get to keep their shirts. They were not forced to take them off and throw them away or anything. So at least that's a positive. So we're about to get into the information regarding the testimonies and the things that they revealed straight from Representative Doug Collins. Thank you so much, Representative Collins, for making these happenings happen. Real quick, we've got a brief word from my sponsor, and we'll be right back. One man has the guts to speak the truth on America's secrets that are hiding in plain sight. You've probably heard of him. Best-selling author Doug Casey. He's been called America's top legendary speculator, and every major political and economic forecast Doug has ever made over the last 3 decades came true. His research shows a major stock crash is around the corner, and it could be triggered by a powerful group of individuals whose efforts are intended to simply sabotage Donald Trump's presidency. And the worst part? Hardworking Americans who saved diligently for retirement are the ones who will feel it the most. We've documented how Doug expects this market crash and recession to play out, how it's aimed at the Trump presidency, and who's behind it. And yes, what simple steps you should take now if you want to survive financially and live peacefully under the radar when it all goes down. To watch this free presentation, go to www.badnews2020.com and watch for free. Once again, that's www.badnews2020.com and listen to what Doug has to say. Now first, we have a clip which is from Representative Collins today at the Mueller report hearings, these fake and phony hearings that Nadler and his team of angry Democrats are putting on in Congress. This is the same hearing that Don McGahn did not show up to. Why? Because the White House advised him that he did not need to. And why? Because they decided to choose executive privilege finally. Because these are an illegitimate waste of time of the American taxpayer's dime. So here, Representative Collins, in this clip, he says, the question is, are we tearing at the fabric of congressional oversight? I guess at the end of the day, we can't find something that the Mueller report lets them hang their I word on, impeachment on, because the president is continuing to do his job. Let's go ahead and take a listen to it straight from Doug.
At this time, it is amazing to me that the accommodation process, and we talk about the committee, and the chairman forcefully talked about our oversight. I agree with the chairman on this point. This committee and all committees in Congress have oversight responsibilities, but it is also the sacred responsibility of the chairman and the majority to use it properly and to not headlong rush into subpoenas when you don't get to what you want. That's all we've seen in 5 months here. When we don't get what we want, we subpoena. The first one was the acting attorney general. We subpoenaed and then we backed off. We caved. Then everything else has become a race to get a headline. The accommodation process, not happening. The accommodation process, never here. So don't be fooled. You may have come wanting, you may have an opinion that says everything is wrong today with the Mueller report and the president is guilty. But don't undercut congressional oversight because you can't wait. That's the problem we have right now. And so the question is, are we tearing at the fabric of congressional oversight? It was really interesting to hear some of that last week. When you have a committee that has issued subpoenas that ask the Attorney General to do something illegal, when you have subpoenas when no accommodation process has been put in place, when you have contempt issues that have been in part with no process and no time going through, I just submit to you this. Whatever your opinion on the Mueller report, great, glad you have it. But you didn't get it here today, and you're not getting it from this committee because this committee undoubtedly doesn't like the author or want to talk to the author of the report. They just want to talk about the report and make innuendo and attack the president at the middle of the day when this committee, who has charge of immigration, who has charge of intellectual property, who we've touched none of, with a crisis at the border, we have an admission that the economy's good, jobs are happening, unemployment is at its lowest rate. I guess at the end of the day, we can't find something that the Mueller report lets them hang their I word, impeachment on, which they can't even agree on, because the president is continuing to do his job. And we're here again with the circus in full force. With that, I yield back.
I'll take a box of peanuts and a bucket of popcorn, please, Doug. So what Doug is saying here is that rather than do their job in Congress, they are focused solely on the idea of finding something to impeach the president on because it didn't come in the Mueller report. They're opening yet another investigation. They are dodging the laws here, asking the Attorney General to break them. They are not accommodating for anything. They're moving right on to subpoenas, and it's because they are all so hell-bent on impeaching the president. Meanwhile, the economy is doing great. Unemployment is doing great. Everything is doing great. Trade, our relations with other nations, everything is great except in the minds of Democrats. These people are sick, all right? Now, thanks to Representative Collins, we have gotten some explosive information, some new testimony which has been released. Not new testimony, it was given last year, but new to us. And we are going to get into that here in just a moment. But first, a little taste of what Devin Nunes has been working on. Now remember, Representative Nunes had submitted 8 criminal referrals to the Department of Justice. He says likely we're going to have more, maybe later this week. I'm pretty sure once you track down this information we have and that we've put together, it would be impossible for people not to be prosecuted. Many people. Let's listen to Devin.
Are you confident with the 3 investigations that we know of publicly, the 2 U.S. attorneys who are looking into the origins, one of them specifically at the direction of the Attorney General, and also the Inspector General at the Justice Department? Are you confident that as those investigations play out, 2 of them, of the 3 we hear we may get within weeks, will give us answers about the origin, either clear the FBI or raise some questions about what happened?
So I am confident in our investigation that we have done. So we've sent 8 criminal referrals to the Department of Justice. Likely we're going to have more, maybe later this week. I'm impressed with the new Attorney General. I don't know the U.S. Attorney in Connecticut, but everyone says that he's going to do a good job. But, I can't really answer that question until we meet with him, we talk about our concerns. But I'm pretty sure once you track down the basically information that we have put together in a nice package, it would be impossible not for people not to be prosecuted.
Well,
all right. So based on the information that we already have and that perhaps Devin Nunes knows much more about because we haven't seen all this testimony, he's saying that people are going to be prosecuted due to the fact that they most likely lied and they committed criminal acts. Now we are seeing that testimony come forward from people like Doug Collins. We have among the many transcripts released yesterday, included among them are Lynch, a former Attorney General Loretta Lynch, and former Deputy Assistant Director of the FBI, Andrew McCabe. So, as I've said before, there is a timeline here. It might not be our timeline. In fact, I know it's not. It is the president's timeline, and it is his team's timeline, and you know who I'm talking about. This stuff is coming out in a way in which it cannot be ignored. By releasing these transcripts, and then releasing the reports, and then showing who is being arrested and who's being referred criminally. All of these things are set up to show that there have been many, many lies that have taken place. It will be impossible to ignore the stuff that comes out in the report because we will have the lies in the transcripts shown from these people. Methods put it to me very bluntly. By releasing these transcripts and these statements before the D class, it will prove that they lied and that they cannot be trusted. Now, a little clip sent over from my friend Methods regarding Dan Bongino's decoding of Devin Nunes' comments from last night. So, Nunes was talking about how Mifsud seems to have a lot of connections with a lot of other people, like Christopher Steele, and he hinted at the possibility of Mifsud working for an organization connected to a campaign. You know what that means. Let's listen to Dan Bongino here.
He suggests at the end two possible scenarios about who Mifsud was. The first one is the one I had believed for up until this point, based on all the available evidence we had, that Mifsud, Joe, was working with friendly intelligence assets to entrap Papadopoulos. He made up a story about Russian emails, hoping Papadopoulos would tell someone on the Trump team about it for the sole purpose of the people trying to entrap Trump in the intelligence community, for them to say, look, the Trump team took information about Russian emails. From a Russian? No, from someone we sent in there. Huh? But to do that, they had to hide Mifsud, which he's been successfully hidden. He's gone. He's in the wind. But I had never considered the possibility that Mifsud may, according to Nunes' second thing he posits there, item there, may have been working for a contractor that was working in coordination with a campaign. Ladies and gentlemen, holy Moses, would that be the bombshell to end all bombshells? That Mifsud was not only working in conjunction with friendly intelligence agencies to set up Papadopoulos and the Trump team with fake information about Russia, but he was doing it potentially in collusion with a campaign or a contractor being paid by a campaign? Folks, if Mifsud is connected to Steele and Steele's working for Fusion, who's being paid by Hillary.
So that makes a lot of sense. If Mifsud is not only working with the intelligence agencies, but is in fact on the payroll of a campaign and working for a contractor, of course he would have to be hidden this entire time, because as soon as you talk to Mifsud, you realize exactly what is going on. We're going to go ahead and take a listen now to Devin Nunes and his comments from yesterday, and let's see if we can glean a little more.
Okay, so let's start with this letter that you sent out. The first time you're talking about it here, you've been trying to get to all the heads of those agencies to say, we want information about Joseph Mifsud. He's one of the characters who figured into the very early origins of potentially launching this whole investigation into the Trump campaign.
That's right. So Mifsud is important because he is the first person that we know on Earth that supposedly knows something about the Russians having Hillary's emails. Now, he's since denied that, but Mueller, in his report, claimed that Mifsud was, or insinuated that Mifsud was some type of Russian asset. Well, we know that that's not the case. And in fact, we know that he was in the U.S. Capitol just months into the Russia investigation, just steps away from the House Intelligence Committee. So we sent a letter a few weeks ago. I think the heads of these agencies thought that we were just going to be ignored. So we sent a follow-up letter on Friday. We've had 3 of the 4 agencies get back to us, but surprisingly, guess which agency is not cooperating? FBI.
I could take a guess as to the initials.
FBI is not cooperating per usual, which means they've got something to hide, because it is impossible that Mifsud, Professor Mifsud, is a Russian asset. He was a former diplomat with the Malta government. He lived in Italy. He worked and taught FBI, trained FBI officials, and worked with FBI officials.
So your whole point is that there could be very weak, if the case was premised upon him, it's on weak ground.
So we have had what we call the 5 buckets of information that we want declassified. One of those buckets, which I believe former Congressman Gowdy, former Chairman Gowdy is referring to, is exculpatory evidence on Papadopoulos. That really does need to get out. It's one of many things that need to get out. But, you know, as it relates, he talks about informants there. Now, I don't believe that Mifsud is a Russian agent, but I do believe that Mifsud is an agent of someone. And, you know, that we still don't know, you know, the origins of that. And so I don't know if Trey's talking about that or not, but that is one of the questions that we have.
And it would matter if these agencies say he was kind of the linchpin to getting this whole thing started.
Well, look, let's imagine he's not a Russian asset. So let's throw that away, even though Mueller has said that he was. But let's say that he was working for another foreign government. Or let's say that he was working for some organization that was hired by either a spy agency or a contractor or possibly a campaign.
But let's say that he was working for another foreign government, or let's say that he was working for some organization that was hired by either a spy agency or a contractor or possibly a campaign.
So that's what we're trying to get to the bottom of, is who is this Joseph Mifsud character, because he seems to have a lot of connections with a lot of other people like Christopher Steele and others that were involved in the early stages and wrote, of course, the infamous dossier.
Are you
Highly revealing. I think that Nunes is hinting that Mifsud was, in fact, an agent of another organization, perhaps an intelligence agency, perhaps a campaign, perhaps a contractor working for a campaign, also working with the FBI. That would certainly be Fusion GPS, and it would make a lot of sense why they would need to hide him and not allow him to speak to anyone, because once this information comes out, there is no putting that genie back in the bottle. Now, one of the biggest things to come out of the testimonies released by Representative Doug Collins was that former Attorney General denied under oath telling Comey to refer to the Clinton email probe, the mid-year exam as it were, as a matter. Now, Comey said that Lynch told him to refer to this as a matter. You know what that means? Somebody's lying. On Monday, Representative Doug Collins released the remaining transcripts from the House Judiciary Committee's investigation into decisions made at the DOJ and FBI to exonerate Hillary Clinton and spy on candidate Donald Trump. The transcripts include testimony from Lynch, McCabe, and James Rybicki. According to the transcripts, Loretta Lynch denied telling FBI Director James Comey to refer to the Clinton email case as a matter rather than an investigation. This directly contradicts statements made by James Comey under oath. Someone is lying. Here we have the announcement from Doug Collins.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Thus far, I have released several transcripts and interviews from the Judiciary Committee's investigation into the apparent wrongdoing at the FBI and Justice Department. Today, I am releasing a final collection of those transcripts. The American people deserve transparency. They deserve to know what transpired at the highest levels of the FBI at the origin of the probe of President Trump's campaign. Therefore, Mr. Speaker, I request that the link www.dougcollins.house.gov/transparency be placed in the record so the American people can review the transcripts of these interviews. Out of an abundance of caution, these transcripts have a limited number of narrowly tailored redactions relating only to confidential sources and methods, non-public information about ongoing investigations, and non-material personnel information. I have worked to release as many transcripts as possible because the American people deserve the truth. And with that, I yield back.
Now, right here on pages 16 and 17, Lynch denies telling Comey to refer to the Clinton email case as a matter. Let's go ahead and take a look at page 17 here. So on page 16, and I did want to kind of just keep it basic, but I did want to kind of jump to this while we're on it because we've been calling this an investigation. I'm sure you're familiar with the discussion of whether you instructed Director Comey to call the mid-year investigation a matter. Are you familiar with this? I think he's testified to this, that you instructed, I believe in September of 2015, Director Comey to call the mid-year exam investigation a matter. I heard this testimony on it. This is Lynch replying. And that was the first time that he had ever indicated to me, in my understanding, he may have told others that he had the impression of that impression of our conversation. So, you did not believe you ever instructed him to call it a matter. Answer, I did not. I have never instructed a witness as to what to say specifically. Never have, never will. I find it very interesting that one of the most explosive elements of this testimony is found on page 17. Pretty cool. So, like I've been saying for about the last week or so, these guys are starting to eat each other. We've got Comey versus Lynch, Comey versus Brennan, Comey versus McCabe, everyone at each other's throats because they know that there has been a tremendous amount of lying and impropriety taking place during this entire sordid affair. So we're going to keep a big eye on this. I'm going to continue to go through the Lynch testimony. We're going to see what other tidbits of information we can figure out. Now, here is a list of the transcripts that Collins just released. Let's see. So we've got interview with Trish Anderson, William Sweeney, Loretta Lynch, Jim Rybicki, Andrew McCabe, George Toscas, Jonathan Maffa, John Giacalone, Sally Moyer, And I bet you that there are many more that are included in the list, but this is a sampling right here. So this is actually what was released on Monday. But obviously we know that Collins has released many more in the past. So next we're going to take a look at something that Andrew McCabe had to say in his testimony. And apparently it's devastating. Former FBI director conflicts with Rosenstein, can't answer questions. Sounds crazy. Former Deputy FBI Director Andrew McCabe met in front of Congress in December 2017, and the notes released yesterday are devastating. Below are segments from a cursory review of questions of Andrew McCabe in front of U.S. lawmakers on December 21st, 2017. Now, this testimony from McCabe is very long, many hours of testimony. You've got a lot of different things here. You've got information relating to the email investigation, who reported to who, McCabe lying about disclosing investigations that he leaked out. We've got information about who and when made the decisions to announce that Hillary was not going to have charges brought against her, how unusual it was that the director of the FBI would circulate this memo talking about the fact that Hillary wasn't going to be charged. McCabe is trying to pretend that it was just one scenario of many. However, it's the only thing that's come out that was put on record about it. McCabe denies that anyone had any political bias. McCabe denies that Comey made up his mind until basically the moment before he gave the presser, but that just does not make sense. Also, the fact that the interview of Hillary was done on Saturday, and then July 4th was Monday, and then July 5th, Tuesday, is the day that Comey actually went out and made that presser. McCabe also denies that Lynch and Comey had contact regarding that decision prior to that. He can't remember who made the decision to take this away from the Department of Justice when this clearly should have been a matter for the Department of Justice. And then you have him admitting later in the testimony that, in fact, Lynch and Comey did have contact before Comey gave that press conference. You've got questions from John Ratcliffe asking about the idea of intent when intent is not part of the statute. You've also got some grilling regarding witnesses receiving immunity after first lying to the FBI. Ratcliffe saying that that is absolutely unprecedented. We've got some great testimony from Trey Gowdy talking about the unprecedented nature of all of these decisions. And then you've also got McCabe saying that political bias played no part in the investigation, but he still went and removed Peter Strzok from the investigation due to what? Political bias. And then you've got Representative Jordan catching McCabe and Rosenstein both in lies about Peter Strzok. This testimony is just chock full of information. I went through and read it, and it took me about a half hour, 35 minutes to get through just the information that has been released in this article. So I will be including this link in the article. Maybe I will have chopped up this video with my reading of the testimony into a couple of little bits, the most interesting pieces. And if not, then you can go ahead and read it yourself. But all in all, the information come out from this testimony by Andrew McCabe is fairly damning, and I am looking forward to seeing what's in those criminal referrals from Devin Nunes. Now, remember, at the beginning of the program, we were talking about the I word, impeachment. Well, as it's becoming more and more obvious that so many people lied, that these investigations have found nothing, yet the Democrats still continue to chase after President Trump and try to trap him into something, it's come out that House Democratic leaders are pushing Pelosi hard on impeaching President Trump. And there's a prediction that Pelosi will support impeachment within 2 weeks. Now, how embarrassing is it going to be? How much egg is going to be on their faces when they try to push this? And there's absolutely no predicate for it. There is no impeachable offenses that have been convicted or that have been committed. House Democrat leaders are pushing Nancy Pelosi hard for her to give her approval ASAP for commencing impeachment proceedings against President Donald Trump, according to several reports from Monday evening. Pelosi has thus far refused to give her blessing to impeachment. Now, Fox News congressional reporter Chad Pergram reported via Twitter that a senior Democrat House member is predicting Pelosi will succumb within 2 weeks to pressure from the majority of the Democratic caucus that supports impeachment and switch to giving her approval. Senior House Democrat who asked not to be identified asserted that Pelosi will likely have to switch her position on impeachment within the next 2 weeks. The Democrat argued that the vast majority of us are for impeachment. From a senior White House Democrat who has their finger on the pulse of the the Democratic caucus. The lawmaker, who asked that they not be identified, tells Fox that House Speaker Nancy Pelosi isn't going to be able to hold off on impeachment much longer. It's coming to a head. Fox is told there was a hearty debate offstage among House Dems today about impeachment. Representative David Cicilline, who runs the Democratic Policy and Communications Committee, an arm of the Democratic leadership, is now calling for impeachment. And earlier Monday, Representative David Cicilline posted a statement to Twitter calling for an impeachment inquiry if former White House counsel Don McGahn did not testify before Congress on Tuesday, and we know that he did not. Politico's Sarah Ferris reported Pelosi was confronted in several meetings Monday and demands for impeachment to begin ASAP. Now, here's an excerpt from that Politico report. Let's see. So all members of the House Democratic leadership, Representatives Cicilline, Jamie Raskin, and Joe Neguse, pushed to begin impeachment proceedings during a leadership meeting in Pelosi's office, said the sources. Pelosi and Representative Rosa DeLauro, one of her key allies and a member of leadership herself, rejected their calls, saying Democrats' message is being drowned out by their fight over possibly impeaching Trump. Yes, it is. They are obsessed. And in a Democratic Steering and Policy Committee meeting, Representative Steve Cohen stood up and demanded Trump's impeachment. Pelosi then countered, "This is not about politics. It's about what's best for the American people," said a member who attended the meeting. Well, tell that to the rest of the Democrats. Pelosi commented to the press Monday about Representative Justin Amash coming out Sunday for impeachment. Asked if Amash's position is enough bipartisanship to pursue impeachment, Pelosi says the bipartisanship has to take place in the Senate. It's not about the House. And Congressman Amash's tweet speaks volumes about the absence of any sound from the Republicans on the unethical behavior of the Trump administration. It is just one person speaking out when so many Republicans have remained silent, she says. Well, the point is they are not going to have the support to impeach the president. It's just not going to happen. And their message, if they even have one, is being drowned out because the only thing that we are seeing is impeach, 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 and their obsession with going after Trump for things that never took place. So I welcome it. I welcome it. Go ahead and bring impeachment proceedings against the president because they will fail and you will look even stupider than you look right now. All right? I cannot wait. I cannot wait. And finally, from my friend Cats5, this is a thread from someone I follow on Twitter, Jojo, Adjunct Professor. This is in regards to the Hammer program, and it might explain some of the odd behavior that we've seen in people that perhaps we expected to go one way and then went a different way. This is a big subject that a lot of people have asked me to cover on numerous occasions. I have covered it previously, but it was several months ago now. And Billy, hi, how you doing? Just want to say hello because we were just talking about this earlier today. So Cats5 sent this over to me. 26 minutes after retired U.S. Air Force 4-star General Thomas McCurney read an exclusive whistleblower tapes expose over America's airwaves revealing the Hammer. What happened? Deputy Assistant Director of the Counterintelligence Division Peter Strzok and his purported paramour, FBI lawyer Lisa Page, exchanged a cryptic, indeed coded text message. This occurred on Sunday, March 9th, 2017. The Hammer is the Stasi-like secret surveillance system created by the Clown's NSA FBI contractor turned whistleblower Dennis L. Montgomery for Obama's intelligence chiefs, Clown's director John Brennan, and director of national intelligence James Clapper. The Hammer, under the former administration, negated every American's constitutional rights to privacy, turning the U.S. into a police state where the federal government was weaponized by that administration against its political enemies. According to the secretly recorded audio tapes released by federal Judge G. Murray Snow, Brennan and Clapper's illicit surveillance system, the Hammer, wiretapped Trump a zillion times. Just hours after General McCurney's radio appearance, Strzok and Page exchanged a text message that explicitly referenced Dennis Montgomery and Montgomery's attorney Larry E. Klayman. Only a few hours earlier, McCurney had referenced Montgomery and Klayman on Operation Freedom, exactly the same names about which Strzok and Page were now texting. McCurney appeared on Dr. Dave Janda's Operation Freedom, that broadcasts from terrestrial radio station WAAM 1600. The next morning, the Russian collusion investigation was born. The following morning, Monday, March 20th, 2017, FBI Director James Comey told House Permanent Select Committee on Intelligence that FBI Counterintelligence Division, where Peter Strzok served as Deputy Assistant Director, was investigating Trump's connections to the Kremlin. Comey announced that FBI had no information to support Trump's tweet claiming that President BO wiretapped Trump. Former FBI Director James Comey lied to the House Permanent Select Committee on Intelligence and to the American people. Comey was well aware that President Trump was under illegal surveillance because Montgomery had already turned over to Comey's FBI mountains of evidence confirming the existence of Brennan and Clapper's illegal surveillance system. On August 19, 2015, Montgomery turned over to the FBI Director Jim Comey's office 47 hard drives that he alleges contained over 600 million pages of documentation from Brennan and Clapper's secret surveillance system. And these are the proof, the documents showing that he turned all of these things over to the FBI. General McKearney's radio appearance set off a sequence of events leading to, within 17 hours, Comey's announcement of the FBI's Trump-Russia collusion investigation. Many FBI and DOJ officials who were involved in the investigation of Dennis Montgomery's whistleblower claims about Brennan and Clapper's illicit surveillance system are the very same government officials who ended up on SC Robert Mueller's Russia collusion investigation team. Montgomery also claims that the FBI under Director Robert Mueller supplied the computers for Brennan and Clapper's illegal surveillance system that spied on Donald Trump. General McKearney and Admiral Lyons, two of the highest-ranking retired U.S. military flag officers, men of sterling character and reputation, took the information we exposed on the Hammer and President BO's illegal spying operations against Donald Trump to a wide audience. The cat was out of the bag. The whistleblower tapes revealed that computer genius Dennis Montgomery, working as a clown NSA FBI contractor, created the illicit surveillance system known as the Hammer that hacked into all of America for President BO, John Brennan, and James Clapper. According to the whistleblower tapes, Brennan and Clapper utilized the Hammer to spy on 159 Article III judges, the head of the secret FISA court, SCOTUS Chief Justice John Roberts, SCOTUS Justice Antonin Scalia, business leaders, millions of innocent Americans, and Donald Trump. Montgomery stated that Trump was wiretapped for years because he alleges the clowns feared Trump. On March 4, 2017, 2 weeks before General McKearney appeared on Operation Freedom, President Trump tweeted, "Terrible, just found out that BO had my wires tapped in Trump Tower just before the victory. Nothing found. This is McCarthyism." Immediately following President Trump's tweet, the mainstream media and the deep state jackals set to work. The predators tore into President Trump's credibility, going so far as to suggest that President Trump was crazy for accusing BO of spying on him. Instinctively, the jackals knew that their own survival depended upon covering their own Russia collusion tracks and destroying President Trump. The whistleblower tapes were published in response to President Trump's allegation that President BO illicitly spied on him. President Trump's allegation against BO was true. The discovery of BO's utilization of the Hammer to wiretap Donald Trump began 2 years earlier in 2015, when transcribed, secretly recorded audio tapes were released in November 2015 by U.S. District Judge G. Murray Snow. Further raising the stakes, the March 7, 2017 WL dump of Clown Vault 7 confirmed the existence of the Hammer in 2 separate clown documents. The Hammer appears to be a massive supercomputer system that was used to eavesdrop on phone calls by deploying or throwing malicious plugins at targeted computers and smartphones to collect the intercepts and then send the data back to the master supercomputer framework. Other plugins could presumably hack into online banking, messenger, email, and other apps, and then transmit the collected data back to the Hammer data center. Stroke and Page say nothing. Later that evening, at 11 p.m., only hours after General McKearney's radio interview, Strzok and Page exchanged a second text message, far less cryptic, that referenced Montgomery and Montgomery's attorney, Larry Klayman. "I'm not going to respond to the whole group. The Klayman-Montgomery stuff is the email Jim just sent in is utter BS. Best to say nothing and brief later if necessary," read Strzok and Page's second text message. According to highly placed sources, General McKearney's radio appearance created a veritable SHIT storm in D.C. and immediate blowback from the deep state. The same FBI and DOJ officials who investigated Dennis Montgomery's assertions regarding Brennan and Clapper's illegal super surveillance system then morphed into team members of Special Counsel Robert Mueller's Russia collusion investigation. FBI Director Jim Comey's FBI General Counsel Jim Baker and DOJ Assistant U.S. Attorney Deborah Curtis, who negotiated Montgomery's immunity agreements, were both deeply involved with Mueller's Russia collusion investigation. Comey's right-hand men, FBI SAs Barnett and Giardina, debriefed Montgomery in a secure skiff after Montgomery gave up 47 hard drives that Montgomery claims prove President BO's Brennan, and Clapper were running a massive illegal surveillance system for leverage and blackmail. Less than 17 hours after General McCain's hammer revelations, Director Comey announced that the FBI Counterintelligence Division was investigating Trump's connections to the Kremlin and denying information to support Trump's tweet, claiming he was wiretapped by the former president. FBI Director Jim Comey was lying. Comey had already taken possession of Montgomery's evidence in 2015, yet Comey proceeded to lie before Congress that there was no illicit surveillance of Trump. President Trump was not the one with connections to Putin and Russia. Hillary Clinton, however, was deeply involved with Russia through her Uranium One and Port Canaveral Gulf tanker scandals and the outrageous Steele dossier that she and her progressive comrades had paid for and put into play under the Clown and FBI's Operation Crossfire Hurricane scheme. Peter Strzok led the non-investigation into Hillary Clinton's illegal server and criminal emails that included special access programs above top-secret intelligence. SAP includes missile defense secrets and, according to Politico, top-secret national security information derived from sensitive intelligence sources. Chinese military intelligence services operated a front company in Northern Virginia to hack into Clinton's email server and forward to Chinese agents copies of every email except for 6 stored on Clinton's illegal home bathroom server. 2 officials with the Intelligence Community Inspector General's office, Inspector Frank Rucker and Attorney Jeanette McMillan, met repeatedly with FBI officials to warn them of the Chinese intrusion. Among those FBI officials was Peter Strzok, who was then the Bureau's top counterintelligence official. Strzok didn't act on the information the ICIG provided him, according to Texas Republican Representative Louis Gohmert. After 1 year of Secretary Hillary Clinton serving in office while using her secret server to which Chinese military intelligence had access, China wiped out the clown's human intelligence assets in China. Director Comey chose not to investigate Clinton's illegal email server regarding the handling of classified information. Our judgment is that no reasonable prosecutor would bring such a case. During his infamous July 5, 2016 presser regarding Clinton's use of a private email server, Comey shared certain sensibilities with Secretary Hillary Clinton and Clown Director Brennan. Clinton's mentor was communist revolutionary Saul Alinsky. In the 1976 presidential election, future Clown Director John Brennan voted for Communist Party USA candidate Gus Hall. Comey told New York Magazine, "I'd moved from communist to whatever I am now. I'm not even sure how to characterize myself politically. Maybe at some point I'll have to figure it out." Perhaps Comey's own statements best explain his reticence to prosecute Hillary Clinton. Now, referring to the situation as a very serious Fourth Amendment issue, the FISA court revealed in April of 2017 that the National Security Administration under former President BO did in fact illegally spy on Americans. NSA indicated its intention to delete the vast majority of its upstream internet data to further protect the privacy of U.S. persons and communications. That has since happened. Such an action could be characterized as destruction of federal records, destruction of criminal case evidence, and obstruction of justice. The FISA court let Brennan, Clapper, and others amend their statements and ordered the destruction of criminal case records. This destruction of evidence happened 1 month after General McCain and the whistleblower tape story revealed the illegal super surveillance system known as the Hammer. Comey's FBI was engaged in illegal surveillance. So was the NSA. So were the clowns. So was the Director of National Intelligence, which oversees these intelligence agencies. Former FISA court counsel Joe DeGenova stated during an April 24, 2019 Fox News panel discussion, "The problem for Brennan and Clapper and Comey and Baker and all of them now is that the FISA court has already communicated with the Justice Department about its findings. Their findings are for more than 4 years before the election of Donald Trump, there was an illegal spying operation going on by FBI contractors, 4 of them, to steal personal information, electronic information about Americans, and to use it against the Republican Party. There are going to be indictments. There's going to be grand juries. John Brennan isn't going to need 1 lawyer. He's going to need 5. The former administration, for more than 4 years before the 2016 election, allowed 4 contractors working for the FBI to illegally surveil American citizens. Illegally. The FISA court has already found that. All right, so that's it. Just a brief overview of what the hammer is and how it was used. We've talked about it on a number of different occasions in bits and pieces, but this kind of pulls all of it together, and it shows exactly what they were doing and how they were doing it. Now, when I was speaking with my buddy Methods earlier today, he brought back up post number 643, in which it was stated, previous to Joe DeGenova making note of the fact that there were 4 FBI contractors, it was stated in this post that there were, in fact, 4 outside contractors who did not have the clearance necessary to get this information. So The only way that they could be allowed to have access to this information is if they were granted it illegally by the people that we've just gone over in this short tweet thread. That would be Brennan, Clapper, Comey, the former president. All these people must have known if that is who the program, the Hammer program, was being run for. All the more reason for these guys to be scrambling, because these illegal operations that they were performing on the American people and Trump together, they are huge issues. And the president knows, the administration knows. I would hazard a guess to say that Attorney General William Barr knows, and this is going to be coming out sooner rather than later. A lot more people are getting wise to the fact that this happened. And a lot of people are very interested in learning about this. If anyone has a way to get in touch with Dennis Montgomery or Larry Klayman, please do let me know. I would love to have both of them on the program and do an interview about this very subject. All right, guys, I think that's all I have for you today. Lastly, I do just have several special prayer wishes that I want to put out there. My friend Buford Pusser from Twitter, please, you guys, definitely keep him in your prayers. My friend God's Guy, definitely keep him in your prayers right now, as well as my friend A Box of Frogs, as well as my friend Michael Libert, and also Susie Bowen. There are many more people that have sent me requests to publish their GoFundMes and just let people know that they need help. That is something I will be doing, guys. I think I'm going to be doing this on the live stream this weekend, so I just want you to know I haven't forgotten about you. There's just been a lot of prayer requests. I guess I really didn't think that there were going to be all of them coming in at once, but I suppose I should have anticipated that. But you guys mean so much to me, and I just want to let you know that we will all be praying for you. I also am going to be going over on my live stream this weekend several gifts that I've received in the mail recently. Lots of really cool things. So again, thank you to everyone who has been kind enough to send me things, and that includes letters, as well as handmade items like the toothbrush knotted rag rug that came from Brianna and Cindy from rugsontheroad.etsy.com. All right, guys, thank you so much for joining me. As always, this has been Red Pill 78. I am the Corruption Detector, and this was your Red Pill News. Good luck, everyone, and God bless.